Hey guys, it's William, back with another video, but this one is going to be pretty negative, but it's also going to be very important. And I'll try to be as brief as I can so that I don't bore you to death. However, what happened is very important to me, and I hope this video gets enough views so that it can really help make the difference that it needs to. So to give you a bit of a brief history, Durham College and the University of Ontario Institute of Technology, aka UOIT, are brother and sister institutions. They are side by side and they help each other out with several things. And there used to be one student association with people from both schools in it. But then in the 2016 to 2017 academic year, they split up. And now there's a student association for UOIT and a student association for Durham. And the latter is called Durham College Students Association, Inc., or just Durham College Students, Inc. You can choose whatever you want because the acronym is DCSI, and I guess the latter corresponds with it. But anyway, in February of 2018, there was an election for the students to pick someone fit for the president position, as well as someone for the internal vice president and external vice president positions. Now I want to be clear with you on another thing. Durham College Students, Inc. and the actual Durham College, they're not really completely correlated. They're independent things. And so one can make decisions whether or not the other agrees. And I know that sounds weird. DCSI is apparently in charge of these things: the student health plan, the campus radio station, and outreach programs that include a food bank, the Women's Center, the Pride plus LGBTQ Center, and the Sexual Health Resource Center. So I was in the Durham College journalism program at the time, and then one day we got a notification from this guy named Jalen Hales saying that he was going to be releasing a motivational album with his friend Jeffrey Ulara, and he wanted to be interviewed to help advertise the album. And I volunteered, and I had them on my Riot radio show, Weldon Witness. And so if you follow my radio show, then you might remember the episode where I had them on. Jalen is the guy to the left of this photo, and Jeffrey's the one to the right. If you haven't heard their motivational album, then I can leave a link in the description for you. But anyway, they were some of the nicest people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting at school. And then a little while later, I had them back on, and this time with another guy named Tusay Bush. And I had actually met Tusay coincidentally because I was still searching for Monster by mistake, and I had to go to the college's technology expert, and Tusay was in the room. I remember explaining to the expert what was happening, and Tusay said, "Oh, I remember that show. We talked for a little while, and then we reunited when I interviewed all three of them." But then it ends up they were all running for president positions a little later, and out of the 12,000 votes, Jalen won the presidency by over 500. And Jeffrey won the external vice president position, and Tusay won the internal vice president position. And I was very proud of all of them. But then, on August 22nd, there was an article published in Durham Region that came out of nowhere, and Jalen shared it to me. And it turns out that all three of them, back 2 months ago, were fired from the board. Jalen shared with the press what it said in his notice of termination letter that he received on June 28th. It said, "We regret to inform you that, pursuant to a decision of the Board of Directors, your employment with Durham College Students Association, Inc. will be terminated immediately." That was the only thing the letter said. It didn't say why they were terminated. And then Jalen, Jeffrey, and Tusay got a lawyer together because they claimed they were fired because of racial discrimination, because all three of them were black. And they gave some reasons to back up this theory. They said that their former manager called them persistent bastards in a meeting once, and a lot of the rest of the board referred to them in a group because all three of them were black. And whenever emails had to be sent out, there was always only one email, especially for the three of them. And also, Jalen said this: "We didn't receive training for the parts. Once we started asking more questions and started to get more intelligent about what was going on, they just kicked us out." Jeffrey also said, "I just wanted, the answers for why." And there have been more than a few articles published about this, and DCSI's response has been very vague and unclear and doesn't really answer the primary question that Jeffrey brought up. They claim that they value student diversity, but it's their word against the three of them. Also, the letter that DCSI sent out to the press said, "The decision to terminate their employment was only made after careful consideration by DCSI's student-selected board of directors in the best interest of the association and the students we serve." And that is kind of an ironic statement, because this was an election and the students voted. They decided that Jalen Hales would be fit for the presidency. They decided Jeffrey and Tusay would be fit for the vice president positions. So if they really are in the best interest of the students and they're going to fire the people the students voted in, then they should at least explain why. Now, I understand that in business some things have to be kept confidential, but Jalen, Jeffrey, and Tusay have expressed their defense, and DCSI has just not given theirs. So until they are able to accurately say why they were fired, then it's safe to assume that they were fired because they were black. And just saying this stuff makes me sick to my stomach, because let me tell you something. In Jalen's motivational album, I want to be clear, Jeffrey was the technology guy in that album, Jalen was the narrator, and they were hoping to do another motivational album where the positions are switched, but one of the recordings explained how when Jalen was out west in Canada doing firefighting work, he overheard crying one night and found a 13-year-old boy. He was approximately 13. And Jalen asked what was wrong. The boy insisted to just leave him alone. And Jalen refused to. He wanted to know what was wrong, and he wasn't going to leave until he knew. And the boy said he was planning on hanging himself because he didn't care about the world anymore, that no one else cared about him, not his friends, not his family, but Jalen said he cared about him. And he was able to convince this boy not to take his life. And I am generally a timid person, even though I have a journalism diploma. If I overheard someone crying in the middle of the night in a city, I probably wouldn't have gone up to him. Jalen is a very brave guy, and he's compassionate, hardworking. I guess I know him the best since I listened to a motivational album where he was the narrator, but all three of them are just, they're people who really are in the best interest of the students. Now, Jalen also told me a little earlier that the DCSI had misused student dollars. He said they were making payments for some things with no justification. Now, back to the point I was making about confidentiality matters. I understand that when it comes to banking information, it's fair to understand why some people would not want some stuff to go public, but let's think back and think, what sort of money are they in charge of? What ratio of the money the students pay to be educated goes to DCSI? How much did they have? What was the budget supposed to be on? And what was changed? And what was changed that Jalen, Jeffrey, and Tusay did not like, and as a result were potentially fired because of, you know? Now, I tried to talk to DCSI about this. I tried to talk to these two girls on the board, and they said they didn't know why they were fired. So I don't think that every board member at DCSI was completely in agreement about their firing, but some of them were, obviously. The three of them aren't coming back to school at the moment. They really are trying to either win their positions back and or sue the college. I hope that in some way they prevail. Now, there's a petition out there asking for 1,000 signatures to help convince DCSI to bring them back on the board, and it's only been a few days and already over 500 people have replied, and so many of us are just angry for for not being given a shown reason. And you know what? Every day that DCSI stays quiet about why they fired these 3 great men, every day that they keep quiet, it allows people to think more and more that Jalen, Jeffrey, and Tuesday are exactly right, that they were fired because of their race. I'm trying to be completely fair here. I'm trying to be a journalist who is willing to look at both sides of an argument, but if one side does not even give a proper argument, then that's very hard to do. And Jalen, Jeffrey, and Tuesday right now are working as hard as ever to do what's right, to earn back the positions they won fair and square, to be able to make a difference at Durham College and as much of the world as they can, and I'm behind them 100%. So please, if you can sign this petition, I'm going to leave it in the link below. But yeah, right now these 3 need our help, and we have to get DCSI to admit why they were fired. Thanks, I hope you enjoyed the video, and best of luck to Jalen, Jeffrey, and Tuesday, and to everyone who's been wrongly discriminated against like these 3.